The most ancient peoples of the planet never considered themselves to be of earthly origin. They either traced their lineage back to the heavenly gods, or they contain myths about the direct migration of their ancestors from other worlds. It is enough to recall the biblical fact about the expulsion of the first people from the heavenly paradise and their settlement on the earth, where by that time life had already been sown in the form of animals and plants. In many ancient texts, there is information that was clearly brought to the planet from outside. Clay tablets found in the temple libraries of Nippur and Sippar, ancient Sumerian cities, testify that 5,000 years ago in Sumer, it was known that the stars make their full revolution in the Earth's sky in 25,920 years. This is the so-called period of precession of the Earth's axis. At the other end of the globe, the same figure appears in the astronomical texts of the ancient Maya. Where could the ancient peoples have obtained precise information about the period of precession? After all, the entire history of today's humanity is less than half of this cycle, and the ancient Maya not only knew the concept of a true year, but also its exact length. They considered it to be 365 days, 2 hours and 30 minutes. According to the Gregorian calendar, which we use today, the length of the year is again 365 days, 2 hours and 30 minutes. And only in the last decade, with the help of the most precise astronomical instruments, its actual length was established: 365 days, 2 hours and 42 minutes. Such super precision is simply impossible with the progressive development of civilization on the planet. Modern science has no answer to the question of how the priests of ancient Egypt got an accurate idea of the planet's magnetic poles. On the other side of the planet, Indian sources determine the age of the Earth at 4 billion years, which is close to modern data. And the cuneiform tablets of Mesopotamia, compiled more than 3,000 years ago, claim that the radius of the globe is 6,310 kilometers. In our time, it has been calculated that it is actually 6,371 kilometers and 300 meters. Scientists of the 20th century explained this insignificant difference by the expansion of the Earth. The ancient Sanskrit texts Surya Siddhanta and Brihat Sataka divide the day into 60 parts. Kala equaled our 24 minutes, and in turn were divided into 60 vikalas. The further sexagesimal division of time segments into para, tatpara, vitatpara, Yima ended with the unit kashta, which was equal to 1/300 millionth of a second. Why would a backward people need such a unit of time, which can be used only in atomic physics? And in ancient times, each civilization had its own calendar system, which began with some real events: floods, earthquakes, the end of people's migration. In the ancient history of mankind, there are indeed amazing coincidences of the starting points of different chronologies. The ancient Egyptian calendar cycle, Sothis, counted 1,460 years. One of these cycles ended in 1322 BC. If you count 7 cycles back from this year, you get 11,542 BC. The ancient Assyrian calendar consisted of lunar cycles of 1,805 years. The end of one of these cycles falls on the year 712 BC. If we put 6 cycles back from it, we again get 11,542 BC. The ancient Indian lunisolar cycle consisted of 2,850 years. The Iron Age, Kali Yuga, in which we now live, began in 3,102 BC. Counting 3 cycles back from this date, we again get 11,652 BC. The beginning of the calendar era of the ancient Maya in Central America falls on the year 3,373 BC, and the calendar cycle is 2,760 years. Putting 3 cycles back again, we again get the same 11,653 BC. Such a coincidence of the calendars of different peoples, separated by oceans and deserts, cannot be explained by chance. Obviously, the starting point for all 4 calendars was some one event of global significance. And what was this event? Let's try to guess, using the available knowledge. For example, less known but recorded in ancient India and Mesopotamia, in Africa and ancient Greece, in Central America and Tierra del Fuego, is the myth that before the Great Flood there was no moon in the Earth's sky. Thus, the Bushmen of South Africa have an ancient legend that the moon appeared in the sky only after the flood. A similar legend exists among the Indians of Tierra del Fuego. One day, the sea rose to the sky and the moon swam out of it. The Greek epic about the semi-legendary happy country of Arcadia calls its inhabitants prelunar proselytes, since they lived on Earth when the moon was not yet in the sky. This myth was confirmed by the keeper of the Alexandrian library Apollonius of Rhodes. Referring to the manuscripts known to him, Apollonius wrote that the moon was not always in the Earth's sky. And during excavations in Sumer, even clay tablets were discovered that tell of events after the flood when the moon appeared in the sky. That is, before the Great Flood, after which only Noah and his relatives survived. The moon did not yet exist in our sky. That is, we can safely assume that in 11,542 BC, the moon appeared in the sky. You can be skeptical about this, but the history of our planet has repeatedly proven that ancient myths should be trusted,